Really, you can see that. Okay. 145 pounds.
Wow, nice.
This is for the commenters. Totally unnecessary, I think. This tells you what a good ball valve is or a bad ball valve, or lesser ball valve. That little nut under the handle compresses a little O-ring around the stem. It's called a packing nut. So if you buy a ball valve without that nut and the handle is clear down here, it's temporary, more temporary than most.
Oh, meaning like in the same bucket, like from the same factory, just find one where there's a big gap right there?
Well, no, one that doesn't have the nut, the handle will be way down low and you won't be able to see a nut underneath there. But if you get water seeping out of here, you snug that nut up.
Oh, got
to
it.
keep it from, that's a packing nut. And on ball, valves that you turn, twist and twist,
Yeah.
that nut, if they leak around the handle, just take and tighten it up before you call the plumber. Even the ones under the sink, the shutoffs, will have one of those, and you never use the shutoff but once every 20 years. So as soon as you shut the water off to play with your sink and turn it back on, water's going to drip there, and you better check because you won't notice it. You get 1 or 2 drips, you just tighten the packing nut underneath the handle, whether it's round or one of these. But the valve doesn't have a packing nut, it's a disposable. Oh, that don't feel right. Okay, I don't want anybody to see this.
Why?
Here's our tankless water heater installation. We'll go through this nightmare a little bit. So first of all, we've got a cold water supply feeding it and then hot water leaving it. This little pipe down here is a recirculation line. There's a pipe that goes clear to the end of the house that is drawing hot water from the hot water side back to the water heater. There's a little pump inside the water heater that's recirculating the water through the house. That way you don't have to wait for the water to get hot. You don't run the faucet for 5 minutes till it gets hot. It should be on in 30 seconds at the most, clear down there. So we have the hot water coming back through the little pipe, and there's a check valve so it can't go backwards, and it goes into the cold water that's going back into the water heater. So if we're not running water in a faucet, it's still circulating through the water heater and cooking the water. And everybody asks, well, how can that be efficient compared to, if it's running all the time? Well, it only runs when the temperature gets lower than a certain point, and then it cooks a little bit of water to keep that circ line running. And it cooks it at a lower rate than you'd use it. You'd use it at over 100 degrees, full hot. And so it keeps it like 65, 75 degrees, something like that, so that when it does need to cook the water, it goes from warm to hot right away rather than having to cook water from real cold to hot. And these things will only deliver the water at the rate it can cook it. So you might have a whole bunch of water coming into the thing, but it's only going to deliver as much water as it can cook. So with that being said, the efficiency question is, it's pretty efficient even though the pump runs. There's also a controller on here, on all of them, that will monitor, or you can set it up so that the pump may only turn on early in the morning and shut right back off when everybody goes to work or school. So the pump only runs in the morning and in the evening. Or a lot of these will learn your condition and your habits and then program the pump by itself. This is an expansion tank. And a normal expansion tank on a water heater absorbs the expansion of the hot water so it doesn't pop the pressure relief valve off. So all the water in a modern home is locked in. There's check valves out the street. The water can't go back out into the street. Once they sell you the water, it's yours. They don't want it back. So if the water gets real hot, it expands and it has to go somewhere. So a lot of times the relief valve will spit off a little bit and then shut right back off. And this compensates for it. Normally they're a great big 2-gallon jug, looks like a coffee can with a balloon in it. And so these don't have any storage. So the expansion tank is real small. It's code, you have to have that, dude. Over here, this pipe is condensation. The whole time the thing runs, it makes condensation. And it drains out, and quite a bit of water, and it's going outside somewhere. And this pipe is the relief pipe. So if you get too much heat, this will blow off, or pressure, and it goes outside someplace. These little goodies, here and here, accept a garden hose. You unhook them, and a garden hose hooks to it, both of them. And you turn off these valves and turn these valves on, and so you have a pump circulating through the system to clean it. You put a solution, a vinegar solution, in a pump, and the pump circulates it through there, and it breaks off all the good stuff in the machine to clean it. And you have to do that. That's part of the maintenance. Up here is where the fresh air comes in for the thing to burn. There's a screen in there so mud daubers won't make nests in it. And this pipe goes out the roof. And you see it's plastic. That's the chimney pipe where the fire leaves. These are so efficient, they suck all the heat out of the flame, like 80-90% of it, so that 10% of the heat or 15% of the heat leaves. And that's why it's plastic, because the temperature of the flue is 85 degrees or something like that. The gas pipe is large. It's a little extra large on this situation in case anybody wanted to add to it and barbecues or whatever. But if you were planning to put one of these in your home and replace your gas water heater, the gas water heater you have may have too small of a gas pipe to run the thing. So that's a cost later on you have to consider if you wanted to put one of these instead of a tank type water heater. And other than that, there's a control panel on here that you can adjust the temperature for the thing. And they make remotes that'll go clear over to your shower upstairs, and you can adjust the temperature for just that shower with a remote controller, pushing some buttons. The house is so well insulated. And people have asked, well, did you insulate the recirc line? Well, it's insulated in the joists under the house, which are packed full of insulation. All the walls are blown in insulation. They're fully insulated. If this line ran exposed anywhere, you'd want to put insulation on it, if it's in the air. You lose heat and your efficiency. When they first came out, I was afraid of them because you open them up and it's like the space shuttle. How are you going to work on the thing? And there's codes in them like a new car. You work on them just like a new car. And you call tech support and they send you a part according to some blinking lights that's saying this doohickeys shot. And then the thing doesn't work until you get the part. So it could be a couple days before it works, whereas an old water heater with a tank, you go down to the hardware store and you buy a thermocouple or an element, and change it that weekend. And the only time the thing's going to fail is Thanksgiving or Friday night, Or
when you're on vacation.
And it's hard to get a tech guy that works on these efficiently. Anybody on earth can work on these by calling the phone number up and talking to tech support, and they'll walk you through the whole thing. It's not like rocket science that fact, but spend a lot of time on the phone. Well, if a gas water heater in a garage will have a pilaster stuck in the cement so you don't back into it, a big old pole. Okay, so and we originally wanted to put this on this wall and keep it all tidy and tucked away. And there was issues with the door opening and not opening all the way and hitting it. And all these things you'll learn at the end of the day. Your plans aren't always 100%. And these will all be insulated. Because of the new code, they want that insulated so kids don't run up and grab a hold of it and think this is a jungle gym. That's the kind of the worst problem of all this nightmare. And it's spread out like this a little bit so you can actually work on it later. And you could get it all super tight and coming out this wall, with pipes and everything. But the tighter you make it, a lot of times the harder it is just to maintain it or just get wrenches in here to work on it. So this looks horrible, but it's actually, should be in a mechanical room, you know. Normally you wouldn't have to stare at it. Okay, we're going to talk about this condensate line. It always runs water the whole time that thing is running. And the condensation it produces is very acidic. And they make a diffuser for them with some limestone in it. So the water gets, I don't know how you explain it. What do you call it when something gets neutral? The water gets neutralized by these neutralizers. So here's the condensate coming out of that water heater. It drips all the time. Sometimes it'll run a tiny stream. It's going into the gutter drain of the house. This pipe here is the relief valve. So it's nice to have a relief valve where you can see it. If you walk out here and there's water coming out of it, you know there's something amiss with the water heater. Back in the day, they used to go right under the house, so you never knew when they were leaking. They were just causing black mold under the house, which is illegal now to do by code. But the point of this is you don't want this thing just dripping outside. I've seen them bore a hole through the cement where it's just dripping into the cement over 10 years, you know, the condensate. I don't know that you'd want to put one in your rose garden. It might help them grow better. I don't know, but you want to consider that the condensate may not want to go into an old cast iron pipe. I don't know these things for sure, but it's acidic, okay? Don't let your kids drink it.